Hi everyone, as many of you will no doubt know by now, all of you I would have hoped, Julian Assange, former editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks, was arrested yesterday and dragged out of the Ecuadorian embassy by the Metropolitan Police. Now, the reason he'd done that is allegedly he was involved in a computer hacking conspiracy with Chelsea Manning, which is of course preposterous. We'll get on to why that is in a little bit. First of all those people for the last 7 years who've been saying he can walk out of the embassy at any time. Yeah, I hope every single time you try and plug a USB cable in, it's upside down on your phone. I really hope that annoys you for every day of your life you try and do it. And to all those QAnon conspiracy sheep who've been saying that all along that Julian Assange isn't in the embassy, he's elsewhere, or he's been murdered and replaced by somebody else. Come on. Stop it. No, you think you're helping, but you're not. You're falling into a conspiracy. Think about it. Who benefits from telling Assange activists and Assange supporters that he's not there outside the embassy where you're protesting? Who benefits from that? Think about it. So he was dragged out the Ecuadorian embassy, as you've no doubt seen in terrible pictures, and found guilty at Westminster Court of jumping bail. These are the jumping bail charges of this case back in Sweden, which they may or may not resurrect. I highly think that they probably won't, because this was a trumped up charge from the very beginning anyway. The judge in that case, by the way, Judge Michael Snow, they deferred it until the 2nd of April. Yeah, so the 2nd of April they've deferred it. That will be when he faces charges of conspiracy of computer hacking, whether he's going to get extradited, because the Americans have obviously put in a request for him. The Judge Michael Snow, though, said that Assange was, quote, a narcissist that can't get beyond his own self-interest. Imagine that. Julian Assange worried that he wasn't going to get a fair trial all along, and he gets a judge that says outright Julian Assange is a narcissist that can't get beyond his own self-interest. When Julian Assange said this to him and said that this isn't a fair trial, the judge said that was laughable. Laughable. As he was dragged out, he was shouting this: the UK has no sovereignty, the UK must exist, over and over. He was shouting that as we come up. Hopefully now he's getting the medical attention that he so desperately needs. But why would he be shouting that? The UK has no sovereignty on the day that Theresa May, within the same 24-hour period that Theresa May extended Brexit by 6 months. You know, not a sovereignty. Is it because they're taking Brexit away from us and he knows it? Is it because we're not a democracy and he knows it? Is it because we're a fascist state that punish journalists for telling the truth? Is that why he's saying we've got no sovereignty? We obviously don't have to extradite. Maybe he was talking about that. But he knows that we're living under authoritarian rule at the moment, and the fact that they just went into an embassy like that and concocted this ridiculous story to be able to go in there with Ecuador and paying them off and Goldman Sachs money and all that sort of nonsense. Julian Assange knows we're living under authoritarian rule, and remember, he's never been wrong. Never. I keep saying they don't want to give you Brexit. I keep saying it over and over and over. And what more proof do you want? They've extended it another 6 months, and then Julian Assange comes out of the embassy. I'm sure he must be shouting that for a reason. The UK has no sovereignty. It's either they've extended Brexit or they don't have to extradite him. One of the two, I certainly think it's the former. But if that is the case, it certainly is nice to know that the guy who's been responsible for publishing over 13 million documents over the last 13 years and has never been wrong agrees with me. Always nice. Now, I'd like to show you a response from Sajid Javid, what Sajid Javid said about this, but I've actually thought against it because I watched this live and I obviously wanted to. I watched it live and I wanted to reach through the screen and throttle him. He was spouting so much nonsense. So what I will do though is I'll go to the response from Diane Abbott, was the person who gave the response. Now, first of all, it should have been Corbyn. It shouldn't have been Diane Abbott. Corbyn's a much better speaker. And she should have certainly got a lot more support on the back benches because there was hardly anybody there behind her. Now, obviously, I know it's a busy day, but come on, this is important, Corbyn. Having said that, her speech was excellent. What she said was excellent. The point she made was excellent, and we'll get onto that in a minute. And obviously, him tweeting it out, at least he's done something. So, this is what Diane Abbott said.
And we should recall what WikiLeaks actually disclosed. Who can forget the Pentagon video footage of a missile attack in 2007 in Iraq, which killed 18 civilians and 2 Reuters journalists? It is the monumental amount of leaks such as this that lifted the veil on US-led military operation in a variety of theatres, none of which have produced a favourable outcome from the people of those countries. Julian Assange is not being pursued to protect US national security. He is being pursued because he has exposed wrongdoing by US administrations and their military forces.
Now, that was excellent. It was an excellent response. I just want to, I didn't show it all. That was just what was tweeted out. But obviously, them tweeting out with superimposing the collateral murder video over the top of it is, yeah, it's a nice touch. But she was talking about in that speech how Julian Assange, she mentioned how he was unlawfully detained and how the UN said he was arbitrarily detained against human rights violations. She mentioned how other extradition cases to the America, which have faced worse charges, have actually been denied. Or similar charges have been denied. It happened a couple of years ago with a guy who tried to hack into NASA, I believe. Was it NASA or the FBI? One of the two. She was talking about how Julian Assange had lifted the veil to expose wrongdoing within governments around the world, which was excellent. She also talked about Chelsea Manning's torture and her trans rights and how she was treated and she was tortured, and obviously this might be Julian Assange's fate if he was extradited. And that was at that point where she was concerned about extradition. It was treated with amazement from across the bench by Sajid Javid and the rest of the idiots over there, and people who from the Scottish National Party, I think, stood up and said something similar. But I thought, you know, the amazement, they're amazed that Diane Abbott would bring up that, you know, there's concern about his extradition to the United States. You know, amazement at the way war criminals might treat the editor of a news publication who exposed their war criminals, those war criminals, as being war criminals. Amazed at how there could be concern at that, knowing that they've tortured the very person who leaked that information to him. It is absolutely preposterous that they can take that. Oh my God, I'm amazed. It's ridiculous. Let me explain just why the UK and the US governments are declaring war on the free press and freedom of speech and the Fourth Estate right now. Let me explain just why. Because this, the normal browser, this is Wikipedia. You can go and get this information yourself. But look at this, the list of material published by WikiLeaks. This is all pre-2010, 2006 to 2008. You've got Guantanamo Bay procedures. You've got killings by the Kenyan police, Sarah Palin's email accounts. And there's obviously a bit further down, you've got internet censorship lists, Barclays Bank tax avoidance. You know, all of these things that are obviously in the public interest. I'm sure you remember some of them. The nuclear accident in Iran, that Barclays Bank tax avoidance. That's a huge thing. And then we come to 2010. These are the leaks that they've published in 2010. Remember, WikiLeaks are not hackers. They're just people who collate material that has been given to them from sources, and if they can verify it's true and it's in publishing the public interest, they publish it. The very definition of a journalistic outfit. You can say 2010, the US intelligence report on WikiLeaks, then they got the Baghdad airstrike video and Chelsea Manning. That's obviously the collateral murder video that they published, that they got through Chelsea Manning's leaks that she leaked to them. That killed 2 Reuters journalists, remember, and they lied about it and covered it up, and that exposed it. It didn't just expose a war crime, it exposed them covering up a war crime. It's important that those documents that are the focus of this case as well, it's important what those other documents reveal, because they're 2010, it says the Iraq war dogs and the Afghan war diary. The Afghan war diary was a collection of 75,000 war logs that included the collateral murder tape. And that showed that civilian casualties were grossly underestimated and reported by the American military. And then you got the 5K Iraq war logs, 5,000 of those up there, 3.5 just later on in that year. And that showed more war crimes by America, including one airstrike that was called in to cover up the murder by American soldiers of 10 Iraqi civilians, including a 70-year-old woman and a 5-month-old baby. This is what he exposed just with those leaks in 2010, just with those 2. And then obviously you got 2011, the Guantanamo Bay files, and they're obviously, they released all the documents with regards to Abu Ghraib and the torture program. Now just imagine that. Imagine this. You know, that is one of the most horrific photos that's etched in my memory. This is what they were doing. That guy is rigged up to electrical stuff all over the place and in a puddle of water, you know. Imagine if WikiLeaks hadn't exposed this. Would that still be going on today? Just ask yourself it. Is it? And that's why they're trying to shut him up. You've got to ask these questions. We'll just go back to that. Just look at all the leaks that they have done over the last 13 years. Vault 7, that obviously proved that they could spy on us through our TVs and record what we were saying through TVs and smartphones, and the Orwellian nature of how that they are tracking us. And obviously they exposed how, you know, they were tracking and taping and wiretapping Angela Merkel. You know, they exposed all of these things. ICE down here. There's the pedestrian emails and the DNC email hack, remember, from 2016. That exposed that the country that says it's a beacon of light for democracy, their own Democratic Party, were rigging their own elections. This is all in 13 years just from WikiLeaks. If you collate that together, over 1 million documents for 13 years, every single one of them has been proven proven to be true. Then, or not proven false. Oh, no, proven to be true. Then that's more than the entire media have done in its history globally. When you look at the massive amount of stories that they have, these are massive stories. And we must have this going forward. Over 1 million documents per year on almost every country and government on the planet for 13 years, and never ever been wrong and never ever lied. Ever. What is that? All of this, look at all these scoops. What is that? If it is not a news publication and a journalist. It's exactly what it is. Now, I want to get to this actually, because this is important. Because people keep saying this about him, not a journalist. For somebody who's not a journalist, he's won an awful lot of awards for journalism. You know, I know he's not. I don't think he's up for it for journalism, but he's nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize this year. You know, this is a journalist. Caitlin Johnson wrote this in her article on those people about who say Assange is not a journalist. And she ended with this, which I thought was great. It explains why the WikiLeaks team has racked up numerous awards for journalism over the years, including the Walkley Award for Most Outstanding Contribution to Journalism in 2011, the Martha Gellhorn Prize for Journalism in 2011, the International Pero Passetti Journalism Prize of the National Union of Italian Journalists, again in 2011, the Jose Cuso Press Freedom Award 2011, the Brazilian Press Association Human Rights Award 2013, and the Kazakhstan Union of Journalists Top Prize 2014, among others. These are just the highlights. The claim that Assange is not a journalist is both an irrelevant red herring and a self-evident falsehood. It is made not by people with an interest in maintaining a small and specific linguistic understanding of what the word journalism means, but by people who want to see Julian Assange imprisoned by the same government which tortured Chelsea Manning because he made them feel emotionally upset. It's a fact-free argument made entirely in bad faith for inexcusable motives. The desire to see a journalist imprisoned for telling the truth. When someone says Assange is not a journalist, they aren't telling you what Assange is. They're showing you what they are. Key, and as usual, Caitlin Johnson puts it into almost poetry. She's that fantastic. So, that fantastic rather. So this is an unlawful and egregious attack on what I consider to be the most important pillar of any democratic society. Fascists need to lay the groundwork for doing this, though. They can't just do it and get away with it. They have to put things in motion to obviously, fight back against what they know is going to be the backlash from people like me. So I think they've done that about a week ago, as far as I can tell, because this is what the Foreign and Commonwealth Office tweeted out. The United Kingdom and Canada have launched a global campaign to defend media freedom and shine a spotlight on media abuses. Yeah, you might want to have a look at this abuse right here. This media abuse right here, you hypocritical arseholes. I want to show this, just how hypocritical this is. And there's Amal Clooney, by the way. I'll get to her and her husband in a second.
The UK, together with Canada, has decided that democratic countries need to stand together to make it an international taboo of the highest order to murder, arrest or detain journalists just for doing their job. And we can...
An international taboo of the highest order to murder, detain or arrest journalists just for doing their job. They did this a week later. Within a week of him saying that, they did this to this journalist right here. The first time I played that, I screamed, I think. I think only dogs could hear me by the time I was finishing screaming at this. I'll carry on playing it because it does get worse. Mark Clooney's about to chime in.
We can only do this if we work together as countries with shared values.
Targeting journalists undermines democracy.
She says that with a smile on her face. Targeting journalists undermines democracy. And I'm smiling because we're going to do it next week. We're going to drag a journalist out by his feet. And drag him out and throw him in a paddy wagon and take him off to prison. Why? Because he told the truth, the naughty boy. That's basically what Amal Clooney is saying there. Amal Clooney, George Clooney. Oh, that's his wife right there, George Clooney. George Clooney, the man who promotes the human organ trafficking white helmets. You know, that propaganda construct that basically kept the Syria, the rebels, the rebels, the moderate rebels, what I mean to say, the terrorists, our terrorists, kept them alive in Syria. That's basically what they were there for. As George Clooney championing this. The UK basically, for an organisation that says it's not fascist, they really are acting like a fascist organisation because, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're including cinema and celebrities to promote their Orwellian future now. Didn't Hitler do that? They're fascists. This is fascism. Make no bones about it. And Julian Assange is right. We must resist. Because for all you nationalists saying the UK is wonderful and the UK is the best, country on the world, I've got some news for you. It's not. Pamela Anderson's got it right. You are America's bitch. That's what we are in the UK, America's bitch. America says jump, and our government says, oh, I beg your pardon, sir, how high would you like us to jump? Would you like a cup of tea with that while you're barking your orders at us, Mr. Trump? That's basically what they're saying. She goes on and says, saying Trump, and the USA, this toxic coward of a president, he needs to rally his base. You are selfish and cruel. You are taking the entire world backwards. He is not playing 5D chess, Trump supporters. What more evidence do you need? How about this? Here he is. Trump, I know nothing about WikiLeaks. It's not my thing. Here is him asked about it yesterday. Listen to this absolute buffoon.
Mr. President, do you still love WikiLeaks?
I know nothing about WikiLeaks. It's not my thing. And I know there is something having to do with Julian Assange. I've been seeing what's happened with Assange, and that will be a determination, I would imagine, mostly by the Attorney General, who's doing an excellent job. So he'll be making a determination. I know nothing really about him. It's not my deal in life.
What would you like to see happen? What opinion is your Attorney General?
I don't really have any opinion. I know the Attorney General will be involved in that, and he'll make a decision. Okay?
Mr. President.
Honestly, I don't think he knows what's going on. Honestly, I don't think he's in control. I really don't. For you, the people out there who think he's playing some sort of 5D chess, he's not. And he's certainly not your saviour. Because if you want free speech and you want freedom of the press and you want all these things and you think he's championing them, you're sadly wrong. Because he's not. This is an indictment that's sealed and signed under his presidency. Him. Right there. Him. He could stop all this with a swipe of his pen. Right now, he could do it with a swipe of his pen. But he won't, because he's not your saviour. He's dickless, he's gutless, and he's a liar who conned an entire nation into voting for them to be their saviour because they were that sick and tired of the status quo screwing them over for 30 years. That's what he is. If you want an example of a real presidential candidate and somebody who's really presidential, here's Tulsi Gabbard. The arrest of Julian Assange is meant to send a message to all Americans and journalists. Be quiet, behave, toe the line, or you will pay the price. She got on to do a brilliant interview with Jake Tapper on The Lead, where Jake Tapper was absolutely so shocked to hear this truth. He looked like a bulldog swallowing a wasp. It was incredible. Well done, Tulsi. The mood has changed since yesterday. I was apoplectic when I went live yesterday to try and notify everybody had been arrested. I was absolutely... I was white with rage. But the mood has definitely changed and anger has subsided, I think, and now there's a steely resolve there. I've noticed us resolving ourselves for the fight again. I think, you know, most of us knew that he was going to probably be captured at some point by, you know, they want him. They can't carry on having somebody around there who can expose their crimes and expose them as war criminals. Underneath, there's a link to a letter that you can download from WikiLeaks that you can sign and send off to your politician. Find out who your MP is via the link below as well. And then if you do get a response, please send it off to the Courage link so we can get on record which MPs we need to put pressure on. That's really important. So that's something that you can do right now. Even if you can't get down to London and support Assange, you haven't got social media accounts, this is something that you can do. Please do it. It does make a difference. Let's put pressure on these MPs. As Caitlin Johnston says, be prepared to shake the earth. It's that important, this is. I cannot stress it enough how important it is that we do not let this man end up in the clutches of the Americans, because that'll be it. It'll be over then. I keep saying I'm waiting for the spark. Well, you know what? I think this could be it, because you know what? If ever there was a better time for yellow vests, it's now. If ever there's a time for yellow vests in the United Kingdom, it's now. And I've got a video probably coming out later on how They're not covering this movement in France, in the UK, and they're not in France either. This thread of the good idea. They don't want us doing it because they're scared. They are absolutely petrified. People who are powerful don't have to keep reminding you that they're powerful. And that's what they're doing right now. And they're only doing it because they're not powerful. They're weak. They're weak. We're the powerful ones. We've just got to stand up and, as Caitlin says, shake the earth. It is us who can change the future of humanity. These people are fascists. And they're trying to take away the best resource that we have to expose their criminal terrorist activities. He can expose it. They're trying to take him away. Which makes you wonder, why now? Why? What have they got planned? What have they got planned? What are they trying to hide? And look at who they're trying to silence as well. Not just Julian Assange. Remember, they've also silenced this guy. You know, let me just play you a little bit of this. Remember, he was talking about the Integrity Initiative. This is Chris Williamson.
Last week, I received a response to a parliamentary question I'd tabled asking
This was on the 11th of December. You can see the date there.
the government if the Integrity Initiative, a so-called think tank dealing in disinformation, had received government funding. The response was stunning. I was met with the admission that in the last 18 months or so, some £2.2 million has been awarded by the Foreign Office to this organisation. Staffed by former security and military personnel, its agenda seems to include the denigration of the Labour Party and Jeremy Corbyn. Their approach is to connect media with academia and politicians to influence policy in certain countries. Leaked documents revealed numerous examples, such as Pedro Baños, an Army Reserve colonel and author who the Spanish Socialist Party wanted to make the country's Director of National Security. That was before the Integrity Initiative's Spanish cluster got involved, putting a stop to the appointments altogether. That's right, a Foreign Office-funded British think tank stopped the appointment of a public official in a fellow European democracy.
Now, Chris was the most vocal person in Parliament, in the Labour Party, fighting back against this Orwellian Integrity Initiative construct that I've been covering, and other people have been covering so closely in independent media. They're obviously not talking about it in mainstream media. It's just bigger than Brexit, you know? But he was shouting about it, and then within 2 months he's silenced over some, you know, ridiculous accusation of anti-Semitism, which is pathetic. We all know what this is. This is silencing of dissenters. There are evil Orwellian-like forces at work here. It's plain to see to me, because in the year of this guy's gagging and they've silenced him in this last year, just look at what's happened. Look at the stories I've covered alone. The Skripals, the Syria case, the Russiagate Mueller report, absolute nonsense. We know in all those stories, the line that we've been given from the establishment that has been echoed almost like a PR company from the media, entire, not just the state media, but the corporate media as well. We know that those three stories that they've told us, the official line is just about as far from the truth on all three of them as possible. Which person could have got to the truth better than this guy? So what the hell is going on? What are they up to? Because they're plainly planning something. And everything points to it being big, and everything points to them being desperate to get it done, because the more desperate they become, the more ridiculous the moves are that they make. And they're doing it in the open now. The mask has slipped and they're silencing dissenters out in the open right now. More than ever, the people of this country and the world need to rise up and unite against the ruling classes if we have got any chance of changing the future of humanity itself. Because if we don't do this right now, and if we don't stand up in defence of Julian Assange and in defence of a fourth estate and in defence of free speech and freedom of speech and a free press, if we don't do that, I feel that everything that is good about humanity is just going to get lost. We have to resist. We have to do exactly what Julian Assange said. The UK must resist, not just the UK, but the world as well. Now, he's been taken to Her Majesty's prison, Belmarsh in London. I think that's how you, Belmarsh, I think that is. I'll put the details down there. There is a vigil, there is a protest, there is a rally for him, a vigil, a protest, whatever you want to call it, at HMP Belmarsh on the 13th, which is tomorrow, 13th of April at 4 p.m. If you can get down there, please do. But if you can't and you want to support him, please use the resources that I've put below this. Go to the WikiLeaks website. Please donate to them if they can, because they need all the support that they can. And if you can't donate monetarily, please just send off that letter to your MP. Get involved. The time to act is right now. We must, absolutely must, do what Julian Assange has told us to do. We need to resist. If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and click the bell below so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. If you click through to my website as well, you can find out ways to support me. You can do it for as little as $1 a month. Can't do this without your support. I really do appreciate it. Thanks very much for your support. Until next time, peace and take care.